Good morning, Acadiana. Meteorologist Chris Cozart here in the live Doppler 10 Storm Team Weather Center. We appreciate you watching here on KLFY News 10's Facebook page as we're giving an update on Tropical Storm Nicholas here on this early, let's say late now, Tuesday afternoon. That would be September 14th, 2021. It's been a rainy morning, but fortunately, as I've been tweeting out and I've been posting on my social media, Nicholas has been behaving itself to an extent to where we've dealt with rainfall rates in probably the half an inch to inch an hour rainfall rate, which is something that Acadiana certainly can continue to go with and can continue to withstand. It's when we start to see some heavier bands of rain that would be our concern for some significant flash flooding, which we've yet to really see come to play. So as we're looking outside this morning here at the traffic cam I-10 near Scott, this is really Ambassador Caffrey. We're a minute past that 11 o'clock hour, and we have water on the lens, and we have a lot of wet roadways, and rightfully so. We have a tropical storm that is giving us some impacts. Winds here in Acadiana, at least sustained winds, are still light out of the east, and we're still seeing temperatures in the mid-70s. So we have a flash flood warning in effect. We're going to get to that in just a bit. Not to be too concerned with that at the moment, because we're not really seeing crazy high rainfall totals in that flash flood warning. All of Acadiana is still under a flash flood watch. This goes until 6 p.m. Also, I'm watching on the KLFY's Facebook page. I'll be following along. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave that in the comments section. If I don't get to it in the actual live feed, then we'll get to it through the comments there as best as we can. So that's what we're going to do with that. Once again, flash flood watch until 6 p.m. tomorrow evening. I really think everything will start to really improve for us by tomorrow afternoon. Overall, still not too bad here as we check on live Doppler 10 Storm Team radar, and you can see that there is still a good amount of tropical rains here, but the really red, heavy downpours that we would see with a typical tropical system just aren't showing up. There definitely is some moderate to heavier downpours in certain pockets, but fortunately, that's all been moving through. They don't really stay in the same areas. That's always a concern when we have a tropical system, as these rain bands will set over a certain area for an extended period of time. We will need to watch out for certain rain bands like this one, possibly getting a little bit heavier and then sitting over those areas. We have some moderate to heavier rains up across the western parts of St. Landry Parish, and then eventually up to Allen and Evangeline Parish, with a lot of that heavier rain now extending, unfortunately, over to New Orleans in those same areas that were impacted by Ida just a couple weeks ago. This is the last thing they really need, is any type of flash flooding in those areas. As we look at the rainfall totals here from this event, once again, not all that impressive so far. As we look at the 6-hour rainfall totals, where you're seeing the blues here, it is mainly about 2 inches of rainfall, 2 to 3 inches of rainfall. So not all that impressive, even though we have a flash flood warning in place here across Lafayette. We really haven't seen that much rain in that area to me, to warrant this flash flood warning. I highly doubt we have any type of significant flash flooding in these areas where that flash flood warning is. That does include Acadia and eastern Jeff Davis Parish. Let me take that warning off of there so we can get some of the rainfall totals. So once again, this was over the last 6 hours, as we see rainfall totals anywhere from about 1 to 2 inches of rainfall, anywhere in this blue, about 2.5 inches of rainfall there. I was talking to Chief Meteorologist Heath Morton, and he's received about 3 to 3.5 inches there in the Milton area, southern Lafayette Parish. So we're seeing, I think, over the last 6 hours with this system so far, about 2 to 4 inches of rainfall, which again, given that this is a tropical system, is not all that alarming. So Nicholas, as I've been saying, is behaving itself for the most part. Let's zoom out and see what we have with Nicholas, as it's a very sloppy system, as it made its way first landfall, and its only landfall, it looks like, just south of Houston. Winds were 80 miles per hour, so it was a weak Category 1 hurricane. Since then, it has significantly weakened and really has not a great structure here on your satellite and radar. Now, all the heavier rains there. Usually what we'll see is these heavy rain bands that really extend down into the southern Gulf, and we're not even really seeing that either. There are some rain bands out there, but our concern for the afternoon, if we get a little destabilization of the atmosphere with the daytime heating, some of these rain bands could get a little bit stronger and then work into the area. Some of the models are showing that. One thing that I think is helping us out here eventually will be this dry air. A lot of dry air located in Texas. It's not really getting into the system just yet, but certainly trying to get into it. And as we head into the really second part of the day tomorrow, I think a lot of this drier air will get into the system and start to erode it. So as we look at the National Hurricane Center forecast cone here on this Tuesday morning, we will see the system weakening. It's now down to 45-mile-per-hour winds, so it went from 80 to 45 in a pretty quick time period. So it has weakened significantly in a quick amount of time. It will be moving over Acadiana. Look at this, how it just kind of falls apart and dissipates over our area. I've never seen a National Hurricane Center forecast cone show wind speeds at 15 miles per hour. Nonetheless, that's what they have for Thursday morning and Thursday night. If this system was still connected in the form of robust rainfall and was still a good amount of rain, I think we would be extremely concerned with a stalling system like that. But that dry air I told you and I showed you about will help us erode this system. So here's Future Track. This is the graph model. If you were following me yesterday, we talked about how this is IBM's model. The people that do the actual weather graphics for us, the IBM, the computer company, they're getting into the weather model game. So this is their version of the high resolution model. Notice they have some heavy rains there as we go into the afternoon. We're not out of the woods by any means by this, but we're just at least a little bit more optimistic based on all the radar trends since this morning. So still some heavier rains there. There's the actual center of what is Nicholas. You can see it swirling around there on Future Track as it slowly works away across Lake Charles, and still some rain bands there tomorrow morning trying to set up over those same spots. And then as we head into the afternoon, not all that impressive. Look at that. I mean, there are still some showers. There's still some sneaky little showers and thunderstorms that are trying to train, but overall the system will be pretty eroded with that dry air by that point. So you can see it's not nearly as robust as what we'll see in the afternoon hours and what we're seeing right now with that current radar. Let me move on, and then we'll get to some of the questions as well. So the big question is, how much more rainfall are we expecting? Well, I don't want to change the forecast too much. So we're going to continue with the idea that we see about 4 to 8 inches of rainfall, maybe 5 to 10-ish, and then some isolated higher amounts. You look at the Future Track rainfall totals. It shows about 5 inches of rainfall into Wednesday afternoon with about 9 inches of rainfall in Abbeville. When you look at this, you again, just getting a general idea of what we're expecting. There will be these hot spots. So if you're watching right now from Jennings and you see the model only shows 2 inches of rainfall for your area, that does not guarantee 2 inches of rainfall will fall in Jennings. We could easily see 10 inches there. It's just up to how Mother Nature and Nicholas reacts to everything in the atmosphere and how that drier air reacts, and if we have a rain band that sets up. So just giving you a general idea of what we're expecting. That is a model. That is not a foregone conclusion that we see that. Winds are definitely picking up. We have about 25-mile-per-hour wind gusts here across central Acadiana, and then 41-mile-per-hour wind gusts were reported in Lake Charles. So it will be a breezy afternoon, but nothing that's really going to cause us any type of major wind threat here. And those weather impacts remain about the same from yesterday. We're going to continue with that flash flooding threat. I did adjust the number up a little bit because this morning it looked rather impressive, and then everything started to really fall apart. I think maybe some of that drier air got into it a little bit as we're looking at radar. Still not all that impressive when we have a tropical system right over Acadiana. So flash flooding threat, 5 to 10 inches of rainfall. That's for this afternoon, tonight into tomorrow morning. Wind threats low. There is a low threat for tornadoes, but we really haven't seen that. And any type of coastal storm surge we see in Acadiana, maybe 1 to 3 feet. That's about it. Let me switch over to my Facebook page, or at least KLFY's Facebook page, and see if we have any questions here on this Tuesday morning. Again, we're getting questions, and rightfully so, about the rainfall. I think in the Arnoldville area, you're still looking at the possibility of 4 to 8 inches, maybe some isolated higher amounts. And when we say isolated, it's just hard to know exactly where all that will be falling. And at this point, my gut's saying it's more isolated than anything. I thought a couple of days ago this would be a widespread flash flooding event for Acadiana with how things are looking on radar currently and what you can see there on satellite and radar. Definitely not as alarming with that. Look off to the south there in the Gulf of Mexico. Those tropical rain bands not really showing a lot of red. That means heavy rain, and they're not very connected. So that's all good news for us. any more dry air and westerly wind shear possible weekend storm blow them off to our east. And that's certainly, everybody's watching, everybody's getting different forecasts from meteorologists, and rightfully so. You're supposed to, go with who you trust and all that. And all the meteorologists talking about dry air. There is wind shear there. And I think some of that is causing what we're seeing, how just lopsided this system is. There's a good amount of dry air on the western side of that system. There is a lot of wind shear. So this isn't packing the wind punch, obviously, that Ida did, but I think it did catch Houston off guard a little bit with those 70 to 80 mile per hour winds. They had some power outages this morning with the result of that. New Iberia, again, if we're talking about impacts across Acadiana, it's right back to 4 to 8 inches of rainfall. I think that's still the case. We still need to plan on a flash flooding threat this afternoon, tonight, into tomorrow morning. Driveway is full of water, and there probably is some issues. I mean, we've had probably about 2 to 4 inches of rainfall here in the last 6 hours. So if there are those usual spots that retain the water a little bit quicker than others, they're probably retaining a little bit that there this morning. So we're definitely seeing that. Just checking all the questions here. Appreciate all the comments as well. More rain than this tomorrow for Vermilion? Not necessarily. I think if we can make it into tomorrow afternoon, I think we're going to be pretty much okay. We're still going to fight some of the impacts from what is Nicholas, as it's still kind of spinning over us, and it's dissipating and dissolving. So we're not completely out of the woods by tomorrow afternoon, but we're definitely getting to the point where we can see the light at the end of the tunnel with that one. Will the rains become more widespread overnight? More heavy rains come at night? Not necessarily, but sometimes these tropical systems have a little bit of a nocturnal activity. I've noticed that in the morning hours, the early morning hours, between, let's say, midnight to about 6 a.m. We had that happen in 2016. That wasn't a tropical system, but all the rainfall really happened in the morning hours, and then finally everything it really dried out, or at least quieted and settled down by the afternoon and evening hours. So sometimes these systems do cycle a little bit, where you get a little break, like I think we're getting about now, and then it will go through another cycle where it starts to tap into some of that moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. So next major update from the National Hurricane Center will be around 4 a.m. 4 p.m. will be the next one, and then 10 p.m. and then 4 a.m. That's the one I'm used to using, 4 a.m. and the 10 a.m. update. Some people are asking about Opelousas. I'm not sure, asking how the drainage or how the flooding is in Opelousas. That would be something. I haven't received any pictures or anything of that sort to tell me that we're seeing some significant flash flooding, and I really highly doubt we're seeing any type of significant flash flooding. Just based on radar trends, there is a flash flood warning in effect here across Lafayette Parish. This technically goes until 1:30. The rainfall in these areas, they haven't been that much, at least according to radar. This is radar estimated rainfall totals, as they're running around 1 to 3 inches of rain, at least according to that. So we do have those in, anywhere you're seeing the blues, that would be 2 to 3 inches of rain, possibly a little bit more. Sometimes tropical rains, they're a little underestimated by radar how much has fallen. So add about a half an inch to those numbers, and we've probably seen that over the last 6 hours. So there definitely could be some issues, but again, I think it's more in those normal spots that can't even handle a normal summer thunderstorm. So that's kind of what we have going forward. Well, we appreciate you watching again. It's 11:14 here this Tuesday morning. I'm meteorologist Chris Cozart in the Live Doppler 10 Storm Team Weather Center. We'll have a full breakdown of Tropical Storm Nicholas coming up at News 10 at noon. If you have any other questions, you can message me. You can message KLFY's Facebook page. Still looking at a heavy rain threat here. We're not anywhere close to being out of the woods with what impacts heavy rains could come into Acadiana from Tropical Storm Nicholas, but so far so good, as most of the rainfall this Tuesday morning has been pretty light to moderate. Once again, I'm meteorologist Chris Cozart. If you have any questions, feel free to just message me here on Facebook or see Cozart at KLFY.com. I'll see you at News 10 at noon, of course, on KLFY News 10.